my name is Jorge Sanchez, and I am a real estate agent with Douglas Elliman Real Estate. And I'm sitting here in the sales office of River District 14 with Henry Pino, the president of ALTA Development. And in this interview, we're going to try to really delve into his mind and his vision for River District 14. Hey, Henry, how are you?
How you doing?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you very much for the introduction, George. At the end of the day, ALTA came about with this envisionment of this site approximately about 15 months ago. As we all know, Miami is going through this major transformation due to many factors. A lot of them is migration from the country as a whole, due to the fact that after the pandemic, we had a lot of folks that are able to work from home. So there's been this huge amount of migration, not just the normal migration that we're used to here from South and Central America, but from actually globally. You know, we have a lot of companies that are moving here and have announced new headquarters here. But again, thank you so much for your time. Again, the envisionment of the site itself is that we are basically 500 feet from the #1 school of medicine in Florida. And the University of Miami brings a whole lot of professionals in the medical field to this area. And one of the things that took place, besides the fact that UM does that, is that UM purchased a very large previous hospital called Cedars Hospital. And they bought in like about, I think it's close to almost 1 million square feet of additional medical space. Another big addition to this area is River Landing. And River Landing is a mixed-use project that consists of a Publix. It has a lot of retail outlets. It has a lot of service outlets, and it's all 500 to 600 feet walking distance from River District. And it's basically created not just a project, but it's created a neighborhood, and it's created a destination.
That's interesting you say that, Henry, you know, and which leads me to my first question. Aside from the trailblazing part of River Landing and how they really came in and they built this beautiful commercial and residential mixed-use development, there had to have been more than that, because yeah, I understand that's important, but what was it that you saw within this site and the opportunity that we're presenting here, why did you feel that the time was right now?
The #1 is the amount of crowdedness, I would say, in areas like Brickell, downtown, now Wynwood, Midtown, and just the commute to get to those places. And sometimes these places are only within 2 miles from each other. It takes you 15, 20 minutes because of the amount of traffic.
Right.
Whereas here, we're basically, depending on this, if there's a high, it's a work day and we're getting towards the end of the day or in the morning, but we're 5 minutes away from any one of these places due to the fact that we have the on-ramps to 836 and I-95. So that is probably the #1 reason why I saw this being such a golden opportunity to create another neighborhood to give support to the Brickells, the Wynwood, the Design District, and the fact that we have the river, because the river is huge. The river, it has a life of its own.
And that's been a trajectory that you pretty much have seen throughout your career in development. You've always been a developer, a trailblazer in your own right, in which you've always gone into neighborhoods where, you know, they're not even up and coming yet, but you've made them neighborhoods that today are probably some of the most popular neighborhoods in the city. You know, with the Paraísos in Edgewater, the Design District. So Henry, my second question to you is, why this kind of a product in this neighborhood?
Well, look, to everybody else, it's pioneering. But as a person who's been in this business for so long, like I have, and been a resident of Miami-Dade County, I have a very good pulse on the market. I am a person that just sees the available infrastructure, be it on-ramps to the highway, be it exits, being that they built the Miami American Airlines Arena for the Miami Heat maybe 25 years ago. So I saw all of this evolving, and as a local, I just started having, to me it's common sense, you know, that we're gonna need this because this town is just it's just bursting in all directions, and we have a need for these things. So to me, yeah, it's definitely good to say, hey, you're a pioneer and you're great at this. But the reality is there's a lot of common sense to it.
Right. With River District 14, one of the ways that this investment opportunity has been structured is you're selling a product is being delivered turnkey. And what that means is that the product is being delivered with different options for furniture packages, all the cutlery, all the plates, all the cookware that the kitchen needs, appliances, sheets, mattresses, electronics, TVs. I mean, it's really a turnkey product. The day of the closing, if you're one of these buyers that will be living in the property, you can just bring your suitcase. If you're an investment that's looking at the rental opportunity, you can literally start renting your apartment that very same day. This is something that you haven't seen very often in the past here in Miami. This is different. This is a full-blown condominium. You don't have a hotel component. What led you to that decision?
Well, number one, not everybody, but a lot of folks that are in the investment world love the fact that Miami is pretty much considered almost the capital of Central and South America because we're so bilingual here with Spanish and English that I see it as a no-brainer. There's folks that work in their fields in South and Central America, but they like to have a second home, and Miami is pretty much number one. And so having said that, and given the fact where our price points are at, because that's the key element, price point here.
I agree.
You know, we have studios, 1s and 2s, and you can come in here and purchase something at a much lower rate than a lot of the other product in Miami.
Yeah, I think the starting price point for River District 14 is about $471,000.
That is correct. Those are our studios. Yeah. You know, and if you do your work as a potential buyer or investor, and you start looking around, you're not going to find that with a project of this category. That includes a parking space,
right?
Because we include a parking space versus these other projects, since they're in these other locations of town where they're doing 40, 50-story towers, versus this one that's 17 stories. Their cost of construction is so massive that they can't offer this value. And I can offer the same value. I can offer a much better value with a parking in a very close proximity to all these neighborhoods.
Yeah, and and I think that one of the important things to note also is the opportunity that this particular project will serve the health district. You know, we understand that
Yes.
that this health district is the second largest in the nation.
Yes.
And one of the deficiencies that you had mentioned to me that you saw within this neighborhood was the fact that there was no property that could service the health district when it came to short-term rental or housing in general.
Sure.
Right now, they have a lack of housing for their medical students, for their patients. I think that the opportunity here, in order to work in conjunction with the health district, also you had mentioned served as one of the reasons why you came up with
Definitely.
kind of a turnkey component with the short-term, no rental restrictions that we have set up for River District 14.
Yeah. No, it's been quite interesting when I do visit the sales center, and I'll see presentations being made to doctors or nurses, and it's something that is actually very rewarding for me, because I see these are people who are first responders and do a great job in supporting our community. And it's great for them to have the ability to have quality housing and not deal with the amount of traffic that we have in Miami, and they basically can walk to work.
Right.
So that to me is very gratifying to be able to see those folks getting presented a unit here at the sales center.
I think that this also is probably one of, from the investment point of view, why the success that we've seen thus far with River District 14 in the last 30 days since we've launched sales is because of that lack of housing opportunities. And I think that it'll serve its purpose, even for a family that might be here for a week.
Sure.
And the advantages of having a home as opposed to having to stay in a hotel, where it's a lot more personal, and then offering also the amenities that come with the building. you have the fitness center, you have the business center, you have the pickleball courts. It offers a level beyond what you could get at any hotel and within walking distance to the facility.
I will tell you one thing in talking about the amenities. One of the biggest amenities that this property has is the fact that if you're a pet lover or a pet owner, you want to go for a walk, you have sidewalks that have grass on both sides, and you have basically a suburban urban location versus the other areas around that we spoke about, like Brickell and Wynwood and downtown, don't have that luxury.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. The location of this building is, you're within the second largest health district in the nation, and one of the things that I like to maybe have you speak about is that proximity to so many different points of interest within the city. You're 5 minutes from Wynwood, you're 7 minutes from the design district, you're 10 minutes from Brickell, you're 5 minutes from downtown. You're going to be about 6-7 minutes from the Miami Freedom Stadium that's being built for our new soccer. Can you maybe talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's definitely, so the soccer component, Miami has pretty much every major sport that is, from F1, Formula Racing, to tennis tournaments, to the NFL, to baseball.
Now Messi fever.
And now the Messi fever is happening, and we are the closest project to the future Messi.
Miami Freedom Park.
But yeah, which is 58 acres. It's enormous.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be a destination. And so the investor here has another element now that we didn't have before, which is the daily rental, or the daily rental when the cup comes. I think the cup's going to be here in the next 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why they're pushing so quickly to get the stadium done.
Right. I drove down the 836 and it literally took me 6 minutes from, the sales gallery to get to the location of where the new park
is. Because this project is basically on 17th Avenue, and the Messi Freedom Stadium is on 37th.
Right.
So it's 20 blocks.
Right.
And 20 blocks on the highway is a skip and a hop.
Yeah, it is.
So it's definitely something that we're happy to see.
And the proximity to transportation, public transportation, I think that's a huge element of this project as well. We have the metro line a block away from here, and the Metro Rail/Metro Mover line really takes you to all parts of the city, including all the way down south, all the way down into Dayland Mall. How important is that for this project?
That's a big driver.
Right.
Because again, like you said, even if you don't work at the hospital, it's a block and a half away. You jump on the metro, and you can be in any one of these other locations in town, in minutes. One good thing that happened, it hasn't even been a week, is the Bright Line was announced.
Right.
So now you can, these folks that potentially might rent from the investor,
right,
can walk to the train station without a need of an Uber or a taxi, jump on the metro. It'll take them to the Bright Line station, and it'll be in Orlando in 3 hours.
That's another point. We're talking about accessibility. The Department of Transportation is in the process of a multi-billion-dollar expansion of one of the most or the busiest highway corridor in South Florida, which is the junction of the 836 and 995.
Miami Beach. Yes.
So how will that benefit River District 14 more so than its current state right now?
Well, the beauty of that expansion is that you can jump on that new expansion. It's not even half a mile from here. I mean, it's literally, you got 12th Avenue was an on-ramp to get on 836.
You're 2 blocks away.
2 blocks away, and then you have 17th. So those two right there, those access points, depending if you're going towards Miami International Airport or you're going towards Miami Beach, it's a very short commute.
It's amazing, and how they're going to, one of the issues right now that they're having with this interchange is, you have local traffic and long haul traffic, better said, people going to different points within the city, converging in the same highway system. And
sure.
And what that's doing, it's actually separating, the long haul trackers to the neighborhood. And they're also building this whole park and walkability underneath this new expansion, which is going to further expand the walkability. To speak about the neighborhood a little bit more, we have River Landing, which is less than 1,000 feet away, 9 restaurants. River Landing just announced that they're going to be expanding its current development in the block right next door to ours.
Correct.
Which is going to be the second phase, in which they're building an even more modern, architecturally significant tower, in which they're expanding the walkability of the neighborhood in order to try to, bring in more of those locals that are looking for that neighborhood feel. How do you think that'll help?
Look, to me, that's confirmation of the value of this neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Adding another phase to River Landing that will be in excess of $500 million to this neighborhood just confirms that this is a place where people want to come, and they like the attractiveness of being so central.
Seeing the evolution of the health district as a fellow native just really underscores how Miami, the immense amount of growth that we've been seeing in Miami over the last couple of years. Going back to River District 14, the project has been structured in a way that you have studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom residences, which are being delivered turnkey. It's something that you don't find anywhere else in the city right now. You go to Brickell, you go to Edgewater, there's nothing. You will not find anything at $471,000. What I've noticed, the history of what you've been doing over the last 20 plus years of your career, is that you've been able to offer value to the end user, to the buyer, to the investor. You never do any value engineering. Quality is always something that you've always been so keen on delivering, not only in your condominium projects, but even in your multifamily, which, with a lot of developers, you see them building multifamilies and they cut corners with certain things. But with you, I feel like you build your multifamily and your condos with the same attention to detail and elevated sense of design and luxury. Could you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah. So look, I have this thought process which is very simple, which means just because you're renting doesn't mean that you expect a lower class of value of life, at home.
Right.
You want to have nice amenities, and you want to have the gyms, and if you have children, you want to have them in a nice pool setting if they're going to the pool. So I try to basically develop exactly what it is that I would feel comfortable in having my family stay in.
Right.
And that to me is something that I try to convey in all my projects, and even the multifamily rental projects.
Could you tell us a little bit about your past projects?
Sure, yes. Our first project that I like to speak about, because it was considered pioneering, but again, it's a project that we call Camden Brickell. And Camden Brickell is a multifamily project that commenced in 1997. That was when Brickell is nowhere, maybe it might have been an eighth of what it is today. And so that project is a project that's in the heart of Mary Brickell Village. And we built that one, and then we started commencing building right adjacent to it. Then I would probably say 4 months or 5 months later, the Four Seasons Tower from New York was announced, and the Millennium Group came in, and so Brickell takes off in a fashion that nobody had ever seen. And when they mentioned Four Seasons, the height of it, everybody says, "Wow, that's very aggressive." But so those were the early year projects. We did a lot of those.
Yeah, trailblazing. Yeah, because I remember Brickell used to be the historic part of Brickell. Was like, that was the end all be all.
Yeah.
And the rest of Brickell was considered more of a, offices and more commercial than residential. But you were really the first one to push into the commercial part of Brickell and the expansion of
definitely
leading it to what it is today as
definitely
one of the number one locations, for so many different people.
Yeah. And as of late, I would tell you that our most notable And successful too has been the Paraíso projects, as we call them.
Water, right?
On Edgewater, and that's on off of Biscayne Boulevard on the bay of 31st Street.
Right.
There was a very nice restaurant builder called Amara, which we developed as part of the 4 towers. It's a total of 1,600 units, and it was like a total sellout of like about almost $2 billion. And so that was very successful. But again, Edgewater at that time was nowhere close to what it is today.
You were the first game in town there.
Yeah.
You know, at that luxury, that kind of a level where nobody else had that vision. You were able to see it and, you know, and pursue it.
Yeah, nobody ever envisioned 55-story towers on Edgewater on land. No way. Yeah. The way they saw it, and you know, it was more like they're not going to make it. But you know, it's there. It's been very successful, and we've continued to repeat that. As you know, we're South Florida based, so we develop in the Tri-County area, and we replicate the same formula throughout.
And for me, I see what you're doing. I feel like you're you know, Brickell you were the first one to step into that market. Edgewater also the first one to step, and then the enormous expansion and growth that has happened around these projects that started the trend. And now here with the health district, again, you know, you're coming in here and you're seeing the opportunity. You had that vision for the future. And again, you're the first one in, you know, one of the first ones into the district. I think that, you know, we've covered a lot of ground here. I'd like to end the interview with, you know, what makes River District 14 such a great investment?
I say that one of the valuable points that comes to mind is it's one of the last neighborhoods that's so adjacent, so close to transportation and the access points. Because remember, Miami is not a narrow, we're in between the Atlantic Ocean, Miami Beach, and the Everglades. Right. And I forget what the width of it is, but it's not that, it's just it's longer than it is wider, you know, east to west, and then southern portion is Homestead, Florida City. Right. So there isn't a whole lot of areas that will allow this type of zoning to create this type of product. Right. And so I feel that this is pretty much, I'm not going to say it's the end of the end, but it's definitely getting close to as part of Dade County that would allow this type of product.
Right, yeah, because you go into places like Miami Beach, in which, you know, the rental restrictions for short-term rental, I mean, it's virtually impossible to do. You have, you know, Brickell has some short-term opportunities, but also restrictions on how often you can rent them, which when it comes, you know, when you're looking at the investment point of it, these restrictions translate into dollars.
Oh, sure.
These opportunities.
Yes.
You have, you know, people that are might come in for just 2 or 3 days to come get, you know, a treatment, or maybe doing a weekend trip to Miami where they want that home feel with the amenities, you know, of a nice building, but are only here for 2 or 3 days, or 1 day, or 24 hours. So I think that speaks to, you know, another huge part of why this becomes such an important opportunity for that investor to purchase you. And then also serves as, you know, when they're not using it, they could also use it themselves.
Correct. Yeah, that's the main, you know, the main driving force. I think that a lot of these folks want to come to Miami for, you know, recreation on vacation. And if not them, maybe some family members or their children. So it definitely adds a lot of things that makes it a lot more appealing as an investment.
It would be important to note as well that, you know, when you went into Brickell with Camden, when you went into Edgewater with the Paraísos, what you sold those properties in the infancy of those buildings per square foot, and what those properties are trading at now, that those neighborhoods have been, that are, you know, very highly sought after and very developed. You know, there's that upside to the investment that, you know, you've made a lot of these investors, a lot of these owners wealthy with their real estate, you know, by being that visionary, by being the first one in. And I think that that's something that you might agree would translate here as well. This is one of the first, and I say this is going to be one of the first of the very many developments that are going to come to this neighborhood, because it's naturally that next spot within the city. Can we speak about that, and, you know, how that also translate into the opportunity for this investment?
Well, look, like you just mentioned, we have a whole lot more how can I say it, components that make this location that much better than the other ones, because again, we are not in the central part of Brickell or downtown or Wynwood or any of these areas. We're very close, but we are definitely in a area that allows us to have a better quality of life for the buyer, you know? And that to me is as simple as that. You know, that's what we really provide. And like I said earlier, this is an area where I do not have an issue owning a unit or living here year round. Because if I need to get up and walk my dog and I want to go to the public supermarket store, or I need to get something from a pharmacy, I can go ahead and do it.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Henry, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.